Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. If you are new, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play and giving my channel a try. I hope you like what you see. Hit like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and feel free to ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you're a returning stitching friend, thank you so much for being here. You know how much I appreciate you. It really does mean a lot. I love talking cross stitch with people who know, people who appreciate it. Mo tries, he really does, but his eyes glaze over after a few minutes. So every once in a while, if I have something finished, I'll show it to him and he'll be like, oh, that's nice. And then we move on. So you are my stitching friends, and I just love sharing everything stitching with you. So thank you. I thought I might have a finished, full finished scrapbook page for you. I have two on the go. One I'm really stuck on figuring out one little section of it. So I kind of put that to the side and I pulled out a couple other pieces, and I was really rocking on one of them, but I want to do a technique on the background paper, and it's been super, super windy. So I have not done that because it will, blow everywhere but where I want it to. And I don't do any of that kind of stuff inside because I don't trust that I wouldn't get it everywhere. Maybe if I set up a whole thing on the in the garage, on the floor of the garage, that might work, because it's not anything that's like paint that would really smell, or like something like E6000, which, you know, you inhale that and whew. So but we'll see, maybe next week. I have to make sure I have what I want, and if I do, I might work on it. And hopefully it looks the way I want to. You know, that's the thing. You have some things in your head, you never know if it's gonna work. I also pulled out a few of my St. Patrick's finishes for kind of ornamenty sort of finishes. If I get them done and put them on my Hirschner's tree, they'll just stay up. I don't really care. I mean, it's here in the craft room, so it's more for me to enjoy as opposed to whether or not it's only for the season. So we'll see. I have a piece of, this is a question actually, one of the finishes is on black Aida, and I'm just going to make an ornament of it. So I'm going to layer it on just comic book board, you know, the regular board. Should I put a layer of black cardstock on the board so that, because will the white come through? Obviously where the stitch part it wouldn't, but in the other areas would it come through? So what's your suggestion with that? I might play around with it and see. Maybe this weekend, I might have some time this weekend to kind of play around. So, but if you have experience with that, I would love to hear what your suggestions are. But since I don't have any of that finished to show you, let's just do some stitching. I stitched on 10 pieces this week. Some of them I did get my 300. So I try to do 300 to 500 stitches on a piece in the course of the week if I'm going to pick it up, so that I feel like I've gotten a little bit of progress on it. And this week, several of them were closer to the 300 than the 500. Connor has been home for spring break this week. So even though we're not, you know, running about and doing a gazillion things, because Mo's still working and everything and all that, it's just a different schedule. You know how it works. And we were down a car. So when I show you a piece, I'll talk about that. So that kind of put a crimp in all of the plans as well, for him to be a little bit more, to do some of his stuff on his own. So, so I didn't bring anything that was less than 300, and we'll just go from there and we'll see. But, you know, stitching is my happy place, so I do try to do a little bit each and every day. And Connor doesn't get up generally until really late, so I can stitch in the morning without a problem anyway. He's a night owl. He is most definitely a night owl. I, on the other hand, am not. Okay, so let's get going with the stitching. My first one, and you know that I love stitching seasonal things, but I don't care when they are in the year. I'm not stitching them to display them out and about. So it doesn't really matter if I work on this as a Halloween piece. It doesn't matter if I work on it in March, at least to me. And I pulled out the Haunted Library Stitch Along. This is a chart by Lola, right? Am I getting that right? Yes, it is. I'm sure you saw it lots of times last year when it first came out as a stitch along and the different parts came out. You know me, I need to see it all before I will commit. So I waited and I thought it was great. I loved it. I loved seeing people's stitches of it. When Beth the Steadfast Stitcher said that she was going to start it this year, I said, that's it, I'm going to. And I believe Sarah Stitches is also starting it. I don't know if she started it yet or not. I'm trying to think from her last Flosstube. I want to say no, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then there is somebody else. And I think she changed her Flosstube name, so now I'm completely, I need to look up. There is another person also stitching it as well that I know of that I need to find. So I'm sorry. I've completely forgotten your Flosstube. But, excuse me, breathing and swallowing at the same time. Do you do that? I don't know. I do that, and then I'm always like wondering what I was doing. So hopefully I won't be coughing for the next 10 minutes. Let me show you mine. Let's move on. Nobody ever said I was like a cool kid. I'm a little unusual and quirky at times. Anyway, here we go. Now, this piece truly is maybe not as bright as you're seeing it, but it is truly this modeled. Just a little bit more subtle. So that's it completely. So you can see, I think it's going to be so fun when it's done, because there's going to be a lot of stitching there. So you kind of have to think about that. And this is where I am. And I focused, let me fold it over. I focused on this side right here. As I'm doing it, I try to build structure because there's a lot of structure to that bookcase. So I want to do that. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it work, but for my categories for Whip Warriors for the month of March, I'm going to try to tie in Poe and the Raven. I'm going to try with the word nevermore for books and such. We'll see if it's acceptable. But I wanted to get that. This piece had it, so I would have, you don't actually have to stitch that part, but I was actually there and I said, oh, let's stitch it anyway. It's kind of cool. So I did that as well. So there we are. That's where I am with this. This will take a while. This is not going to be something that is, I'm not going to be worried, like you didn't have to worry about, oh, the next one's coming out, if I wanted to keep up, and so on and so forth. I'm just enjoying bringing it out when I want something that's a little bit different. And I really do enjoy all the different parts of the structure, from the arches and the different colors and the lines that you're going to see. It's really quite beautiful. So I am enjoying that when I'm stitching it. I think that's going to be so fun to kind of build, you know what I mean? And to kind of create, because it really is, it's quite lovely with the different colors and everything else. So did I tell you this is an 18 count Imagine, and it is from Mystic Fabric. I'm sure it was a fabric of the month. I was in Misty's fabric of the month probably for a couple years. And you know, I would say Bestitchme has been my longest, and Brandy's fabric of the months are beautiful. And I like Brandy's fabric, so I do keep that one. Not that I don't like anybody else's, you know that. I am an equal opportunity stitcher for hand dyers, and I love to support as many as I can. But I've rotated some of my, from year to year, I rotate some of my fabric of the months. And so I had rotated out of this, and I think I went to Under the Sea for a bit. I came late to that time in cross stitch. By the time I came back in late 2019, I was going to say 19 something. No, that's when I started stitching, 19 something. But I came back to it in 2019, and for a few months I didn't even realize there was such a thing as hand-dyed fabrics. You know, I was kind of like with the Zweigart and the Witcholts and all of that, and Vintage Country Mocha was like the big deal. But then when I discovered them, I think both Under the Sea and Fabrics by Stephanie, for example, both of them had been around for a while. So I didn't even really know about them as long as so many of you might have. And I would have joined Fabric by Stephanie's. She does a fabric of the month, but it is through somebody. I'm not sure. But the one fabric she didn't have was 18 count that she was not doing. This was supply issues. I should reach out at some point and ask her if she's going to start, because Stephanie's fabrics are fantastic too. I really love her fabrics. Really, whose don't I like when you think about it, right? But anyway, that's the Haunted Library, and we'll see. This one is pretty much, you know what, I kind of feel, well, I brought this one out for a reason, obviously, and I got the number of stitches in that I wanted for the event. Now, whether or not it counts, we'll see. But most of the time, I'll be bringing things like that out just because I'm flipping through and I'll say, ooh, I really feel like stitching on that. So, now I did have a new start this week, and this is one of my 3 scheduled March new starts. There could be unscheduled, but these were the 3 that I planned, and I'm hoping this week to start the final of the 3. And this one is March's Daffodil from Cottage Garden Samplings. I'm doing all 12 of these, and so I'm starting each one every month. As you saw last week, January is almost done, but I'm putting it aside because I want to stitch on the one of the month during the month. Isn't that pretty? Now, I originally thought maybe blue, although I thought I had to do it really a lighter blue because there's a couple of bluebirds here. There's one there, and then there's one over here. And I thought that the yellow, and as long as I had one that the white would show up on, would be kind of cool. But then I went in a completely different direction, and I'm really liking it so far. I know it's not for everybody, but you know me and fabric colors, I like to try a little bit of everything. So this is what I have. This is Lilac Mist, 18 count, from Hand Dye by Rolanda. Rolanda is, I'm just going to fold it over because that's all I have. Rolanda is a hand dyer through Etsy, and she is out of Canada for all my Canadian friends. And this stitched up fast. I have found for some of these months, some of the border parts seem to take a little bit longer, but this one was just zipping along. I really enjoyed it. And did I? Yes, I did. So which one? I did change the color. I am finding that a couple of the recommended DMCs, especially the greens, are maybe not quite the color I want, especially because I'm changing up the fabrics. So where is it? Okay, the border. So what I'm going to show you with the border, it's a Gentle Art thread that they use, baby spinach, and their alternative was 470. And I found 470 to be, I don't know if I have it, no, I don't have it easily accessible, to be too yellow for my tastes. So I put 904 in instead. I went with something that was definitely green, like a much more green, kind of green. And I threw it up against all the other flosses, and I think it's going to look really nice. So I'm happy with the switch. And I think that's really the only one. So far, it's really only been the greens. I find that some of them are just a little bit too much on the yellow or chartreusey side, you know, that kind of area for the fabrics I'm choosing. If I was doing it maybe on just a very neutral. I don't know if that's, I mean, some neutrals are more neutral than other, right? It might work just fine, but on these colors, it definitely kind of wouldn't have looked right. So I'm enjoying this one so far. I love that green that I chose, and we have our little pot of gold and our little hat, and I might take the border across and work on some of the flowers to get them in as well. There's even, look at the cute little, there's a little birdhouse that the bird is on. So really, so far I think this one's my favorite of all the ones that I've stitched. I'm enjoying this one. Okay, now I changed my Zoom piece. Yes, you're not actually going to see Black Vintage Sampler this week. I know, it's a shocker. This is another good one for Zoom because it's blocks of colors. So I did do a Zoom last Friday night. Yes, well, so Connor was on his way home on Friday. And he had class until, I don't remember what time. So he was coming home a little bit later. So I jumped on the Zoom. It started at 6:30. So I jumped on that and stayed for, I don't know, an hour and a half. And I was watching kind of to see where he was. So when he got down to Rehoboth, I was like, okay, I got to go. he's almost here. So I got some work done, and I would have gotten more if I had stayed a little bit longer, but that's okay. And this is Beezy Spring from Cottage Garden Samplings. It's Cottage Garden Week, I guess. This is, the flower one was a series. There's all 12 of those, and that was a series, that was from 2013, these were done. I don't know from 2013 all the way if she's had 12. I know for the last, what, 3? She's got snowmen this year. She had the woods last year. She had this one, and then didn't she have the wreath ones? So she's had at least 4. This was 2021, the series, and this is number 5. I did change up the color of fabric a little bit. I wanted it a little bit brighter, and I love it. This bee is my favorite. I could see stitching him again on this fabric for a trading card. He's so cute. He, she, I don't know exactly. I'm just saying he. But there we go. And I concentrated on this flower right here. This part, the brown, there's some heavy counting there. But I think I concentrated more on all of the leaves. And then once I had some of that in, I could start to fill in a little bit. But this is 18 count light Seaglass from To Die For Fabrics. Love it. So I will continue on this flower and get this one done. Those leaves, like I said, are pretty good because they're solid pieces, and you know, there's maybe 3 different colors, so I can kind of, depending on where I am, I can try to get a couple in a different spot before I have to change colors. And this is a double. There is actually a double, 2 different colors of green, double stem there, but that shouldn't be too difficult to stitch. And I did mention I do want to use some, it's Rainbow Gallery, what's it called? I'm taking 1 piece of thread, 1 piece of that. Is it like a blending kind of thing? And I'm going to try to make these a little bit more sparkly. But we'll see. I've never used that before, so I don't know how it will work. And so I figured I don't want to do that part when I'm doing a Zoom. I'll leave that to when I'm kind of on my own so I can concentrate a little bit more. Make sure I'm not messing up at all. All right, next. This one, it got about 400, just under 400 stitches since the last time you saw it. But I had a question which I did want to address. So this is Christmas Deer, and it's by the Stitchery from MJ, by MJ? The Stitchery by MJ, and it's linked down below in the description box. All of my pieces, I give the name, the designer, the fabric that I've used. I try to remember to do color changes. So for example, I'll try to remember to tell you what my color change was for the March piece, the daffodil, March daffodil. And if I forget sometimes, you know, feel free to ask and I can try to look it up. It depends on where I have all my notes. I have notes in different spots. And I just forget sometimes to bring them. And I do try to sometimes, for example, on this one, I will link to the Etsy shop. I'm a big believer in linking to shops because backlinks are really important for small businesses. And the more that we can link and the more that we can give direct links to places, the better they will show up in search. And even though there are different types of backlinks, we're not going to get into all of that. And even ones that maybe are not considered as helpful, they are helpful in some ways. So this is why I do try to link as many things as I can, because it's really important for the small business to get good quality links in different places. Anyway, that's my little aside on that. So that's why I do try that. And honestly, I just cut, you know, I mean, I stitch a lot of the same pieces. It takes me literally, I cut and paste. So I'll bring up a couple of old videos where I know I've stitched on it. I've got the information, I cut it, paste it, and boom, it's all in the description box for you. And that's as technical as I get. That's it. That's all I've got. I don't bother with like inserting and stuff and everything else, but I can cut and paste like a pro. So that's what I do. Anyway, this is what it looks like. Oh, and I've talked so long that it started to go out. I'll show you what I did. Just, you know, like I said, it's a full coverage, right? So 350 to 400 stitches doesn't look like much, but I just continued. But I had a really great question. And if you were wondering, full coverage, I do 18 count white Aida, 2 strands over 1 full cross. That's where that is. And this has multiple, probably three, at least three, if not four pinks. Now, obviously there is a few pinks that are more dominant than the others, and the other ones are coming in. And then here you're going to start to see that's more of like a star. And then I will be starting to get into around the branch of the branch, the horns. That's what I want, a branch. Anyway, that's what you're going to start seeing here. So I had a really good question from somebody that asked, could you skip stitching the pink and do it on a pink fabric? Now it would take some finagling. You got to figure out the pink colors and make sure you don't lose out on like that little bird and then everything around the antlers, right? That's what I'm trying to say. But I think you can. Yes, I do think you could stitch this. Oh, and I don't know why in the world I do this. Let's do this and then, well, anyway, you're only gonna see bottom, that's fine. You could stitch this on a pink, but my suggestion would be, if you could find one that is kind of a gently mottled pink, you could do it on a straight pink. That's fine. But I think if you could find one that had slight variations of pink, and maybe you dye it yourself, you know what I mean? I think that would be pretty because that would add a little depth. And I am going to say, I really think it would be gorgeous if you used an opal. If you're going to go that route and you're going to spend the time to figure out what's the pink and not stitch that and do the actual other part, I think an opal would be gorgeous because that would really make it sparkle for the Christmas. So if I was doing it, that's what I would do. At the very least, go for the opal, I think. And if you can get something that's, you know, different shades of pink, even better. But if you're just doing straight pink, go for the opal, I definitely think, because I think that would be beautiful in the end. So yes, it could be done, I think. It's just a matter of having to mark up all the things you don't have to stitch and then go from there. And if you do, I would love to see what you chose. Please, please, please let me know. Send me an email or send me a DM or what. Oh, see, now it fixed itself. I don't know. Because that would be beautiful. And I would love to see the stitching adventure you're going to go on with that. All right, next. It's March, right? So I have to stitch this. And this was a start at the very beginning of the month. This was my second of three, or this was the first one of the three that I started. And these are, they're St. Patrick's gnomes. I think that's all it says. St. Patrick's gnome patterns from Wonderland, Ukraine. So you get the set of 3 when you order them. And I am stitching, what am I stitching? I have to stop and think about that for a minute. Oh, these all are so cute. I'm stitching this guy right here. So I put in another 500 stitches. This section, I'm on the hat. I mean, this hat is big. These are bigger than you think they are. Really. And actually, you know what? This is what I can do. Let's see if it shows up. There we go. Just the guy on its own. That hat's no joke, but there are nice chunks of color. So I did put in another 500 stitches on this one. So we're up to 1,000 stitches. I know that's all you see, but it's getting there. This is so cool. So this is an 18 count opal water nymph from Bestitchme. I think I won this in a Friday night fight night. It was meant to be. And I love where I sit. The sun will come in the afternoon, gets the afternoon sun. So if I stitch on this, when the sun is shining on it, it just sparkles. And it's so fun to stitch on for 2 reasons. 1, we've got nice blocks of color. And 2, it's just pretty because it sparkles. So I am 1, 2, I'm not, maybe when you get here, that's about halfway down the hat. But of course that it widens at this point. So there's going to be more stitching with that. But it is, things like this, you don't realize how many of different shades of the same color there are in DMC. This is all charted in DMC. There are so many different greens. It's amazing to me. And some of them that I don't really recognize the number because they don't get used by a lot of designers. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty one. And oh, that's a pretty one. So that's been kind of fun too. But this was a no-brainer. For March, I had to stitch this. Generally, I'm not going to follow. I don't think I have the Easter ones, and I've got so many that I will stitch what I have before I would think of those. I don't know if they have any spring ones. They might, actually. But I have that sunflower one that's pretty that I would start, or I'd continue working on before I start anymore. So I think this is the final gnome start for now. I can't guarantee there won't be more, but I really like how Wonderland Ukraine charts, and I love how they blend the colors, and I just love the look of what they do. It's really a joy to watch it come together. And they are the ones that charted my shamrock piece, and that was wonderful to stitch as well. I really enjoyed it. So they are generally linked below in the description box if you've never seen them. And I usually, because there's PDFs and then there's other things shipped, I just usually click on the PDF and look at their digital charts. That's generally what I do. So who knows? And they have sales on a regular basis. So if you wanted to wait for a sale and give something a try, you could certainly do that as well. I pulled this long lost one out. This needs to get done. I thought it was going to go faster than I think it's going to. It is my Prairie Schooler Santa. And just for 1991, I want to be clear in what year the Santa is. I am working on the 1991 Santa right here. And I'm working on the coat. I thought it would go a lot faster because there's big chunks of color again. And so I said, this one will be done in no time. And I did say I was going to make it a 25/7. And for the month of March, I've kind of gotten away from 25/7, I think, just to take a break from it. I really like the idea of stitching one piece 25 minutes a day, 7 days a week. And I've gotten quite a few pieces finished that way. But I had done so many, one after the other, after the other, after the other, that I decided just to take a little bit of a break. So that's what it looks like. And I did just all of this. This is on an 18 count Jade from Picture This Plus. I've done quite a few Santas on this one. I think I had gotten the set of the little Santa guys. I think I'm going to do it on something else than Jade. I think I've kind of gotten to the point. I do have a little bit more of this piece. I finally cut the other Santas off of this. So I do have room for another one. I imagine that's what I'll use this fabric for. But I think I do want to branch out because I don't want just everything to look identical on the tree type of thing, especially because I think the ones with the Jade, I'm going to finish the same way. I have enough pattern paper because I layered pattern paper behind the ornament kind of idea. I have enough to do for all of the ones I've stitched. So they would all look very similar. So I'd want some other things thrown in there too that look a little bit different. And Picture This Plus has some great colors, but I'm not as huge a fan of how loose a weave. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the one I'm going with. It's one of my less favorite, I'll say, fabrics. I still use it because I do like some of their colors, but it's not the one that I would pull out first. But there it is. So I will continue with this one. I mean, once the coat is done, the border is going to be really, I mean, it's really just this border here. And then there's a pineapple down here and down here. There's not an awful lot to do with this. It's just putting in the little bit each time. So I don't know if this will get done by March. That had been my initial goal, and I'm just not sure if it will at this point. March has been a little bit busier than I anticipated it would be. I mean, and we're already on the 10th, so we're a third of the way through the month already. And for example, Megan's season's going to really kick in. And so we'll be going to games a lot more and things like that. And so I'm not exactly sure what to expect for March. So I thought maybe that one would get finished, and I'm not going to write it off, but I'm also not going to promise myself that I'm going to get it finished. Alrighty, so I finished Christmas Deer. I did my 1,000 stitches, and so I wanted to go to the next piece, and I was opening and closing. I have them in just drawers, and I was opening and closing, kind of seeing what's there, and I saw this one, and I said, oh, I haven't stitched on this one in a while, or it hasn't felt, I mean, it's probably like 4 weeks, I don't know, but it felt like a long time. And I really enjoy, I enjoy blue, right? You know I like blue, and we are solidly stuck in blue. So it is mini until the end. Started by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork is by Rose Khan. And I am using, there is a full coverage event in Whip Warriors this month. I am not doing the smallest number of stitches to highest. I'm just doing 1,000 on a piece and then rotating to the next full coverage kind of thing. Unless I get stuck in one and I just stay in there. I might just do that too. Who knows? I love these blues. I mean, and I haven't even gotten to these cool ones down here yet. I can't wait to do those. This was one that had less amount of work because it was started more recent than a lot of my full coverages. So that's really all I've got. But I feel like I made a good, I'm not at 1,000. I'm probably at 500 stitches since I started it this week. And I really came down here and there's a bunch of fill in of a certain color. So I've really started to do that. As you can see over here, there's really no confetti anymore. There's a couple up here, and then I've started down here because I did it. But for the most part, I've got a lot of those little pieces filled in, which is kind of nice, not to have a whole bunch of them all over the place. And like the other full coverage 18 count white aida, 2 strands over 1, full cross. So there it is. Got a ways to go, but you know me, I love my blue. This one you have not seen in 2023. I'm not exactly sure when you last saw it, to be honest with you. And I decided it was time to pull it out. Last week I pulled out Jan Hicks' Earth Laughs because I said this poor thing needed some work. And so this week I said this one needed some work. And it is very pretty. I know exactly why it doesn't get pulled out, but I'm trying to work on fixing that so it gets more time. This is the Love Boats Sampler. Yep, the Love Boats Sampler by Ardith Designs. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful. I love the colors. That is what got me, was all of those colors. While I am a huge fan of blues, I pretty much love color. I just love it. So as you can probably tell by all the fabrics I use. And so pieces like this, it doesn't matter what shade is dominant. Like this one is definitely more dominant in the pinks and the corals versus another piece that might be more dominant in blues. I just love it. I just love different types. I did follow her lead with the fabric. So you can see, I don't know what this was stitched on, but clearly it was a kind of pink fabric. And I did follow the lead of that. Mine is probably a little less pinky. It's a little less bright, I'd say, ultimately. That's what I got. This fabric is 18 count Lighthearted, and it's from Dying for Cross Stitch. That's Kathy. She used to just have Facebook group, but now she does have a website. And what she does is, it's very cool. If you've never checked out her fabrics, not every single one of them, because I'm not going to say it's every one of them, because it's not, but quite a few, I'd say at least half of the colors, she shows a light, medium, dark version of that color, and you can choose which one it is. Well, I know this at least in the Aida, because that's what I look at. I don't look at the other fabrics. But in the Aida, you know, she could have a light, medium, dark, lighthearted, for example. I don't know. This might be the only on this one. But you know what I mean? Different shades of blues and greens and whatevers. And it's very cool browns. So if you wanted something and you liked a color, but you were like, ooh, I wish it was a little lighter, a little darker, that might be an option. Now, the one thing I have found with Kathy's fabrics that has been a bit of a challenge for me, and that's just because I am a in-hand stitcher and I pull hard. I just am. So it's great with the stiff Aida, right? Because I'm fine with that. Like Picture This Plus, it's not as loose as Picture This Plus, but this is a little bit looser of a weave. So I do have to be very careful in how I pull, because sometimes I pull too hard. But I have no idea why this works. I have no idea the science behind it. But I have found, I did this also with my Prairie Schooler Santa. If I put this piece in a Nerge hoop, you know, those are the rectangular hoops, and I let it sit in the hoop for like a day, and no marks come on it. It comes out fine. I mean, this is iron, but I think, you know, I mean, there was really not much on there to begin with. it's for some reason tightens it up. And I find it's easier for me to stitch on. I did that with the Prairie Schooler, the Picture This Plus fabric. What I was doing was I said, oh, let me stitch it in the hoop. And I'm still working it. I still prefer stitching in hand. So I had put it in a hoop. I stitched on it for a while in the hoop. But then when I took it out and said, oh, I'm just going to do some by hand, I found that it was a little less loose. So I did that. I knew I wanted to stitch on this week. So ahead of time, I put it in the hoop. It sat there for a day. And then when I went to stitch on it, it didn't pull as much. I have no idea, like I said, but that's my little trick. So that means there's no excuse. There's no reason why I can't stitch on this, because I know that's why I was just like, oh, but I have to be really careful and all that stuff, but it works for me. So I really just concentrated on this center area right here. There's a lot of color changes. There's a ton of colors on this. I will forewarn you, but if that doesn't bother you, it's a lot of fun. The other thing, and it doesn't bother me, but there is a lot that is not symmetrical. You know, you have to pay attention all the way with some of the flowers, with the border, with other parts. She does not do symmetrical in a bunch of different places. So what you assume will be the same is not. So you do have to pay attention to everything. And that's fine by me. That doesn't bother me. But that is just something for you to be aware of. It's one of those where I would never want to zoom with this because my mind would be in two places too much and I'd probably make a mistake. So that's that. Hopefully you will see more of it this year. I don't think it'll get finished this year because there's a lot of stitching with that, but it's just so pretty. I really love the colors. So there's really just no reason why it shouldn't come out some more. Alrighty, this one was a car stitch for me, so you have kind of an idea of what it will be. Jardin Prive, this is the Winter Quaker. I'm getting close, I really am. I've already finished spring, so I could continue this one to a finish, I think, if I want. I have summer half finished and I have autumn not started yet. So you may see this, I mean, what, winter is officially over in what, 10 days or so, but you might see this longer than that because there's no way, I think, unless I did it every single day, I don't think it would get finished before that. Here it is. So I had said we were down to one car. Ugh, that's a story. I'll tell you later. And so all we had was the minivan. Now Connor has never driven the minivan ever. And I just wasn't comfortable. It's just bigger than the other cars that we have. I wasn't comfortable with him driving around in that. So I did have to take him a few different places. And he had a doctor's appointment this week. He was, going from the big change from the pediatricians to the regular doctor. So he had kind of a doctor's appointment, kind of initial visit, all that stuff. And it was about half an hour away because there's different satellite offices, but because he was only here this week, he had to just go to the satellite office. And so I said, I'll drive you and I'm just going to bring my stitching. So that's what I did. I brought this and I stitched on it. So the top here has been done for a while. So let me just bring you down here. And I got quite a bit done. I've got the alphabet done. I've got this element. That was really easy to stitch in the car, so I worked on that as well. I started here, and then I worked on some more of the elements here. This tree right here is the signal to the end. So the tree will come down, and that will be the bottom. Let me show you. You see right here? Now, these houses have a lot of stitching in them, but it's fairly straightforward. So this has some time yet, but I do have a little bit more to stitch here, but then really my focus is just down here, and then this one will be done. This is stitched on 18 count Sky from Atomic Ranch. It's stitched on 823 like all of them are and will be, and they're just in varying different shades of bright fabrics. So that's it. That's where it is. This one will be finished this year. I will make a point of finishing this one this year. There's no reason that I would hold this over. I mean, if I was saying, oh, I'm just going to stitch it in season, but like I said, spring is done and that one's close. So just get it done. And I have one last piece for you. I pulled out my butterfly. So this is what it'll look like. This is from, let me open up the Just Cross Stitch magazine, August of 2021. And I remember when I looked through the magazine, this was the first, when I saw this, I said, oh, this is the first thing I want to stitch from it. And it is the first thing I'm stitching from this magazine. I love the colors. Isn't it so pretty? It is being stitched on a different shade than this right here. The designer is Pavlyuk. And I decided I want something a bit more nature-ish. So I chose this fabric instead. And this is an unnamed fabric from Coffee Crafts Fabrics. And Coffee Crafts is a UK-based hand dyer. And they have a Facebook group. So for my UK-based friends, that would be an awesome option for you. I have liked all of her fabrics so far that I've gotten. I generally miss, she puts out, she'll dye a bunch of things and then she puts them and lists what's available on Facebook. And I miss it almost all the time. Very rarely do I catch it before any 18 count that might be available isn't taken. So I don't have a lot of her fabric, but what I do, I really do enjoy. So I'm just filling in, you know, I mean, this one is going to be symmetrical from one side to the other. So what you see here, you will see again here. But I think against this bluish green, I think it just pops. I think it's just so beautiful. I love it. And I already have the pictures scrapbooked, printed for, I'm going to scrapbook this piece for sure. And our travels to the Butterfly Museum in Deerfield, Massachusetts. Over the years, that's what I'm going to put in for pictures. I've already gone through and I already printed them out. So I really need to get this stitched because I really want that in the scrapbook. I think that'll be so much fun. All right, so that is my stitching. Plans for this week, I will continue my St. Patrick's Gnome for sure. Because, you know, next Friday is St. Patrick's Day, right? And the March Daffodils I will continue with. So those two hopefully will be pieces you will see next week. And then the third start I wanted to make in March for sure was the Outline of Ireland by Vlada X Stitch. I showed that to you maybe a couple videos ago when I was showing you what fabrics I was using. Now I did decide on that. So it's one of those, if you haven't seen it before, so there's different pieces and parts of it colored in with different shades of a color. And in the field part that they show, it's different greens. But I'm finding the greens are very yellow based, really, really yellow based. Not exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my DMC card with the DMC things. And I'm also going to pull out the numbers that I've used from the St. Patrick's Gnome because there's so many great ones. And pretty much what it's charted is a light, medium, and dark kind of that shade. So I will find maybe a light, medium, dark that's a little bit more green. So along the lines of, you know how for March's Daffodil, I used 904, which is definitely much more green, than 470, which is much more yellow. I'll do the same thing because I really want those fields, that area to be green, really a nice lush green. So there will be some color changes on that, which I have not done yet. I have the fabric picked out. It's a Rolanda fabric. It's already cut even. I'm looking at it right now. I'm pretty sure maybe it's not cut. It might be just folded over. Yeah, it might be just folded over. But, so I know that, but I do have to make a choice on the threads. If there's other colors up top, I might just get it started. And as I'm going and get a feel for what it looks like on the fabric, then make the choices for the flosses. We'll have to see. I don't know what color starts where. So I have to kind of look at that. So that is also in the plans. And then from there, who knows? You might see something that I haven't stitched since 2020. No, I think I've stitched on everything before since then. So, but you know, you get the point, right? We will see. It's all a mystery with that. So those are the plans. Happy mail. I have a happy mail that I just wanted to share. I got a thank you card from Marla. Thank you. And thank you for the anchor. I appreciate that. Isn't that pretty? That is beautiful. So, so pretty. And then I forgot to ask this friend if I could say their name, so I'm not going to. But I got this beautiful card. How fun is that? And this actually reminded me, I love Oh, I don't know if this is going to show. It's great when the light hits it a certain way with the gold. My paper crafting friends, I had a question for you. I have never ever found a gold and silver ink pad that really did a nice stamp of gold or silver. I can heat emboss gold and silver with the powders. That comes out fine, no problem. But I've never found, they just were splotchy and they never really looked good. So for my paper crafting friends, if you have a suggestion of a company that has fantastic gold and or silver, and I don't care if it's pigment or dye based or whatever, I mean, just as long as it stamps that color nicely, fully, without it being kind of blotchy, I would love your suggestions. So that made me think of that. I love that. And this wonderful friend saw this, said they thought of me, and sent it. Isn't he adorable? Obviously, with me stitching all of my gnomes, that they thought of this. I love this. So this is going to be my craft room leprechaun gnome mascot. I don't know. So you know how you have the elf on the shelf? He's going to be the gnome on the shelf, I guess. So sometimes you might see him here, but I think I'm going to have fun and just move him around the craft room. And he will be up all year round. I love him. Thank you so much, friend. So that was my happy mail. I guess I should smile from that. Anyway, I have one. Oh, you know what? I did get you know how I said I was going to buy a couple of digital patterns? I did, and I totally forgot about that when I was setting up my shopping. Well, let me show you the one piece of in-person mail that I did get. This is the color of the month, fabric of the month, from Under the Sea Fabrics. And what's it called? Eros is what it's called. And this is the, I assume March. Sometimes I get confused on when this is and when they aren't. It doesn't say which month. It just says the name of it. And it's 18 count Aida. So if you do not want to see the Under the Sea Fabric of the month, look away. But let me show you now. Isn't that pretty? Really, really like it. So this side has a little bit of a variation, especially down here, which is really nice. So I think I'd really like to use this part for something fun. And then this side is mostly one color, which is kind of cool too. I think at the bottom down here, there might be some shades of that other one, but that's really kind of neat. So that was the fabric of the month. I've put it away and I really liked that. I like that a lot. So I've been enjoying Under the Sea's fabric of the month. She opens it up only when she has openings. That makes sense. And I think you'd have to check. I would follow her Facebook group if you were interested. Because I think that's where, for a while, I was just following the Facebook group. I was not part of it because it was closed. And so when it opened, that's when I jumped on it. But I know at the end of the year, because this is how I got some of her fabrics of the months before I was in the club. I don't know if she does all of them, but she picks some of what she's dyed as fabric of the months in that current year. And in, I think it's November or December, she opens it up and you can order for those months, those colors. So if you have seen one that you really liked, you're not part of it, maybe join the Facebook group and wait until the end of the year, because that's in the past couple of years, she has done that. I'm just assuming she'll continue to do it, but this is just how I've known it to be. But then I am no expert because, again, I've only been back to stitching for a few years. So that would be my suggestion, though. If you really like some of the fabric of the months, I don't think it's open right now, but that's a way for you to kind of see if you can get into it. Now, I did get, and I don't know if it would be easy or not to find them. I did order from Soda Stitch. She does some fun stuff. I really like Soda Stitch. You know, it's kind of cutesy. It's a little bit different at times, but let me see if I have anything showing up here. Yeah. And I honestly don't remember. How bad is this? Where's the bird series? I got 4 of the 8 birds. So this is the bird series. Aren't they cute? And 6 of them are winter related. So the circle around the bird has berries and there's snow and all of that kind of stuff. And then one has more of like a daisy, and one has just kind of like an orangey flower. I don't know what it would be. But let me show you. Those are the set of 8. I know I got, oh goodness. What did I hit? I know for a fact I got the blue jay. And I'm almost 100% sure I got the cardinal. The other 2, I like all 8. So I don't know what I chose. And they were, oh look, they're still 20% off. I don't know how long that 20% off would be. Although with Soda Stitch, she does have, or she used to have, maybe right now because they're on sale for 20% off. It looks like the whole shop is on sale. At one point, if you bought, say, 3 patterns, you got 20% off. But maybe now with this sale, that isn't obviously on. But I did buy some of those. Super cute. I don't know what size they are, so let me just open up the cardinal, for example. It is a 58 by 58 stitch. So it's a cute size. I would stitch them, of course, on 18 count. So that'd be almost 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Super cute. So I could see doing these and putting them on the tree. And I really like, they're in the hoop. Do you see that? I really like that finish. And remember the sea otter? I got the stained hoop from a shop on Etsy. That might be really pretty because there's different colors. If I could find some that matched the birds a little bit, or maybe if there was a color that was overarching, I could do them all with that same hoop. That might be pretty. So that's a thought. I mean, obviously I have to stitch them first. So, but if you're interested, I thought they were cute. I've got some Soda Stitch patterns. I like them. Just, you know, a thought. And then, yeah, that's all I've got to show you for shopping. Alrighty, giveaways. So let's talk this week's giveaway. And Stacy, I got your info. With Connor here this week, I didn't really get out and about to doing any of that stuff. So it's not lost in the mail. It just hasn't shipped yet, but I will get it out to you, I promise. Here we go. This is this week's giveaway, and it is from Scattered Seed Samplers, Schoolwork Exemplary? I'm probably not saying that right. So it's cool alphabet, as it has the house, right? You always have to have the house. It's charted in weeks, but it also gives you a DMC alternative. And there's 5 colors. Literally, that's it. So I asked you to say the word crown. And mix them around. I threw them in, but I forgot to mix them around. Looking out this window right here, and the house across the street from us, they have really pretty, they have a lot of plants and trees, and they're wonderful with flowers and gardens and stuff. But all of their daffodils, especially around the back of their house, are all blooming. It's pretty. We are getting a cold spell, unfortunately, so hopefully the daffodils will make it. All right, so let me pull out a name. Put this back here. And my winner is Flossing Away. Congratulations, Flossing Away. If you could please get me your address, there you go, then I will send this out to you. All right. I'm going to put this back in the plastic, and I'm going to put your name right in there. And as always, I don't always remember to say the rules when I'm doing the actual giveaway. I ask to hear from you within 2 weeks before I pull another name. All right, this week's giveaway, I was going through what I had for giveaways, and I have an extra one of this. So maybe you want to join me in April. I have April's Daisy from Cottage Garden. And now this one does say April showers bring May flowers. It's the only month, I think, that actually says the month. But, I mean, obviously you could, April end or May, you could easily use this in. I haven't decided what color fabric I'm going to stitch it on yet. I'm thinking a green, a light green, because as long as the whites show up. So you've got cute little bunny, see the cute little bunnies up top? And then obviously you have the flowers that are white. The words are in blue, so obviously I wouldn't do a blue, but I think maybe like a Friendship Green by Fabric by Stephanie, that would these greens would show up nicely on that, and I think the yellow and the white would be beautiful on that. So I don't have the flosses for this yet. I'll have to do a floss toss on that, and I will let you know. If you would like to have a chance to get this one, I would just ask you to say the word daisy. Please be 18 or older. Please don't say giveaway or free. I would love it if you were a subscriber, but I'm not going to require you to be public. I'm just taking your word. And that's it. So next video, I will take the names that have said the word daisy, and I will pick a name. All right, so that's it. That's all the stitching stuff. If that's all you're here for, I hope you have a fantastic week. I will see you next time. Life stuff. What did we do this week? What did we do? Well, yesterday I went to see the dentist. Actually, so I had 2 dentist appointments. The way the dentist down here works, your first appointment, they don't do a cleaning. The dentist just does like an extensive, I needed x-rays, all of that stuff. So I had those done. And then, you know, all the different checks they do with your teeth, you know, this, that, and the other. Now, I'm going to preface this. I've never minded going to the dentist. I have been blessed with fairly good teeth. So it wasn't a traumatic experience. And for the most part, I've had dentists that I liked. So that was never an issue. But for whatever reason, during COVID, it was just one of those things that I was just too anxious to go to the dentist. I went to all my other doctor appointments. I've done all my other checkups. So it's not like oh, I can't go to the doctor thing. But for whatever reason, I had anxiety about that. You know, it is the way it is, right? So for 3 years, my teeth had not been looked at. And so I went. The dentist was so nice. He's like, I get it. No worries. Like, you know, they didn't, you know, sometimes doctors feel like they need to yell at you or they need to, you know, scold you or whatever. And I'm like, I'm out if somebody does that to me. I mean, I am too old to be scolded when I know, you know, I know whatever reasons I've done it. It's not like I'm just being ornery, you know, but he was very nice and he was just really lovely. And so he did all the checks and so on and so forth. And obviously my teeth needed a good cleaning. And he was like, we are a little bit behind. We're down a hygienist, so we may not be able to get to you for a little bit, but that's all right. You know, your teeth are pretty good. Well, lo and behold, they had an opening yesterday. So in I went and I got my teeth cleaned yesterday. And I loved the hygienist. She was so fun. I actually got out of there. We were laughing and this and that. I said, I really enjoyed going to the dentist. Now, mind you, I don't have teeth issues. And she said, darn you, I can't even tell you that you didn't get your teeth cleaned for 3 years, that, you know, you did something wrong, right? Because my teeth there are other things breaking down left and right in my body, but knock on wood, I have been blessed with very good teeth. So luckily the teeth are good. I have a filling that has fallen out, but I don't even feel it. The dentist saw it there. I said, there's kind of a hole, but it doesn't hurt. And he's like, yeah, it looks like I've had probably about 2 cavities in my life, and I didn't get them until I was in my 40s. So that shows you, you know, teeth-wise. And I did grow up in a place with fluoride. So, I mean, that obviously can make a difference as well, too. But, again, I just blessed with good teeth. Yeah, so my teeth are they nice and bright now? I had my teeth cleaned. I do have to get the filling done. That's not till the end of the month. And then I'm all set till October. So there's my birthday present to myself, is to get my teeth cleaned. But yeah, so I had a couple of visits to the dentist this week. But like I said, both the hygienist and the dentist were lovely, really, really lovely. And so it was fun experience might be too strong a word, but I didn't come out of there. I came out of there saying, I had a lovely time, especially with the hygienist. We laughed a lot. What can I say? So anyway, that took up some of my week. This week was a little bit off because Mo and I, when we had been driving back from Megan's game, the one we went to where we froze and almost got frostbite, there was a light coming on about the oil or something or other. And he had to drive up to Connecticut, so he just pumped a bunch of oil in there, did his trip and whatever, came back, and he said, I got to take this to the dealer, or not the dealer, because we got the car in Connecticut, but to the car place down here. It was at about 90,000 miles. So we're like, you know what? It needs an oil change and a 90,000 mile checkup. Well, it got its oil change, but apparently there were about a gazillion things wrong with it besides. Now, except for oil changes, we have not put any money into this car. We haven't had to. So it wasn't to the point where you don't fix it, because this car should last quite a bit after this. But it took them all week to do it. We finally got it back last night. Now, again, because we only have the 2 cars down here, Megan right now, Megan has the car that the kids used in high school. Once she graduates, she loses that car, and Connor gets it for his last 2 years of college. You know, and she's on her own. She's going to live in Philadelphia. She probably doesn't need a car anyway. But he's never driven the minivan. He's only ever driven, they share a Camry, and then Mo has a Subaru, kind of a small SUV. So I was driving Connor around for different things he needed. You know, he just needed to do some errands and stuff, you know, and he needed a doctor's appointment and this and that. So I was a little bit of a chauffeur this week, which is fine. You know, I don't mind it. It's been years since I had to do that, back when they were in high school before they could drive. So, you know, it's like old times driving around, just somebody who's older. So that we did that. Megan's had a few games, but they've been away. So she's on spring break, but she plays lacrosse. She's in season. The lacrosse team went down to North Carolina and played. So they had played in Maryland. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to that game. And then they spent some time in D.C. They let the girls go to D.C., stayed over. Then they drove down to Virginia. No, North Carolina. Sorry, they were in Raleigh. They went to North Carolina. And I think they got there, you know, again, some time to sightsee as well. They tried to find some things for them to do besides just practice and games, right? And they played, and then they got back up. And yesterday they were at a away game, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then she has the weekend free. So she's fighting a bit of a cough. She's like, I'm tested, I'm tested, I'm tested. It's not what we all say when we hear coughs, right? But they did give her something, because it's not been going away. And I couldn't even see it. After the game earlier in the week, I said, oh, you fell a few times. And it looked like, I was like, oh, you didn't get a concussion, did you? And she's like, no, but I really messed up my elbow. 1, because she landed on it, and 2, because one of the teams, the girls in lacrosse, you know, you've got your defenders and you have the stick. Now, technically, the sticks aren't supposed to be held horizontal. That's a foul. And, you know, when the defenders, what they do, Megan's an attack player. What the defenders do is they'll go up and they'll push with their stick against the girl's arms, and they're pushing against them. They're supposed to do it on an angle, and it's less harmful, I guess. But most of the time, it doesn't really get called, and a lot of the girls do their sticks this way. And so Megan ends up with bruises all over her arms. So she had a lot of bruises and some pain in her elbow, and I wasn't even sure she was going to play on it yesterday. I talked to her after the game, and she's like, yeah, they had a big foam thing on my elbow, which I couldn't see because I was watching it on my iPad. And she's like, yeah, just lots of Advil and that. So she's a little beat up, but so she could use this weekend probably for a little bit of recovery and rest to get rid of whatever that thing is once they didn't give her antibiotics. I can't remember what it was, whatever she said they gave her. And then maybe to rest the elbow too. So. And I don't know when her next game is. A lot of times in season, they have them Wednesdays and Saturdays. So maybe next Wednesday might be her next. It's got to be an away game, though, because I think the next game that I'm slated to potentially go to is next Saturday. So we'll see. So I did, you know, a lot of streaming of games and that kind of stuff to try to watch her and kind of support her, since I couldn't go in person. And that's about it. That's really, you know, there's just adventures kind of thing, stuff going on. It feels like a very, busy month this March for whatever reason. There's been a lot happening and going on. So, it's amazing. It's already March 10th, right? I mean, I'm thinking about, this is one of my April starts. I have to start thinking about what fabric I want to do for an April start. And, I mean, holy moly, how is that already almost that we're looking into April? I can't, it's going to be fast because she's in season and then she graduates this year. So, I think between now and mid-May, it's going to be kind of crazy and busy and different things going on. So we'll see. I just want the warm weather. We had beautiful weather in January, and now in March, our highs are mid-40s. Like what? I want spring right now. I want the warmer weather now. So, staying bundled up for a little bit. All I hope is next Saturday it's a little bit warmer and I don't freeze like I did the last time. That's all I'm asking for right now. So we will see. But that's for next week's talk, right? I'll know much better next week when I see you before then. So that's it. I am going to try to get a little bit of finishing done this weekend. We'll see. We'll see how the weekend goes. I get stuck on something and then time seems to get away from me. And then before you know it, the day's over. So we will see. And like I said, I have a couple of planned things I'll stitch on this week, but other than that, I have no idea. And the week itself, I don't know. I haven't looked at the calendar yet. Half the time I don't know what day it is anymore. So, you know, I have to live by that calendar to make sure I go to wherever I need to go. But that's it. I do know when it's Friday though, because I know it's time for filming and a time for a chance to chat with you all. So thank you very much for being here with me and maybe stitching while I chat, stitching and sharing that with me and all of that good stuff. As always, you know, it is a highlight for me to be able to share with you and to talk with you about it. So thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you're doing healthy. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself in every way possible. You are important, and your fitness, emotional fitness, health, mental, everything, it all matters. You matter. And so it's really, really important that you take care of yourself. Maybe it's stitching, maybe it's something else, but whatever it is that helps you feel good, I ask you to take the time to do that for yourself because you are important. All right. Until next time, happy stitching.